Hello guys, my name is Ayo. I'm an international medical graduate currently trained to become a family medicine physician in the UK. And I recently went on a journey of becoming a mom. And I have to say, at the start of my pregnancy, I really didn't know that there were specific rights to the pregnant employee in the UK workspace. And I think because of that, it made it a little more daunting asking for things that were already rightfully mine. So in case you're in a similar situation, I'm hoping that this video will educate you on what those rights are so you can confidently ask your employer for some of these things. Okay, so let's hop right to it. The first right of a pregnant employee is the right to pay time off for your antenatal appointments. So this should be a no-brainer, but I find that for myself, it was a bit daunting asking for time off because I just felt like other people had to work. Why was I special? Why did I have this opportunity to take this time off at the expense of others? But knowing that it was my right at the end of the day, as outlined by the gov.uk website, really just made me more comfortable taking the leave. So once you've informed your employer about these appointments at least ahead of time, obviously by that means that they're already aware that you're pregnant, they should allow you to take this time off and still pay you for the time you're taking off. Okay, so these are appointments maybe with your midwife or with your doctor, or appointments that they schedule for you with other practitioners. So it could be a physiotherapy appointment, or it could even be childbirth classes. You're actually entitled to taking that time off to go have that appointment while being paid. Okay, and your partner is actually allowed to attend 2 of those appointments with you, so take advantage of that as well. So the second right you have is the right to antenatal leave, or rather maternity leave. So maternity leave and paternity leave is actually rightfully yours. In the UK, maternity leave is about 52 weeks, and this is about 26 weeks of ordinary maternity leave and then 26 weeks of additional maternity leave. So it's so beautiful that you have this 1 year to spend growing with your child and getting to know your child better. And most times your partner is eligible to about 1 to 2 weeks of paternity leave. There's also something called the shared parental leave. So this shared parental leave is basically you guys combining your leaves together. And let's say the mom decides to take about 6 months off and then the dad takes 6 months off. So it's basically sharing the 52 weeks amongst yourselves in such a way that each person has enough time to spend with the baby, or each person plays their role in caring for the baby in that first year, just to reduce the burden from just one person. It's something that you could decide to do, but you have to discuss that with your employer in detail. All right, then the next right is the right to maternity pay. So this is quite dicey because there are different entitlement criteria and it's quite elaborate. So there's the occupational maternity pay, there's the statutory maternity pay, there's the maternity allowance, and all these are eligible, or different sets of people rather are eligible for these depending on what you're paid, depending on how long you worked with your employer, depending on the type of job you do. So it's just really different, and I'll be covering it in a different video, hopefully providing more insight as to what you should be eligible for. Okay, then the last thing, or the last major right, is the right to protection from unfair treatment, dismissal, or discrimination. So this is quite important because I find that pregnancy is actually a very vulnerable condition where you tend to feel as if you're not giving your full you're not giving your best in certain situations, or people can actually tend to feel that way. Maybe you're not able to complete a task the way you would have done previously. And personally, as an NHS employee, I felt like that was my situation at different times. In my first trimester, I really found it very difficult being able to meet up with certain tasks that I had because I suffered from really bad hyperemesis gravidarum, which is severe nausea and vomiting in pregnancy. And because of that, they had to make certain concessions for me. And that's the beauty of this particular right. So regardless of what your disadvantages, or regardless of your, should I say, your shortcomings, or your inability to complete certain tasks because of your pregnant, that shouldn't serve against you. Okay, so they have no right to treat you unfairly. They have no right to discriminate you in certain things. Let's say they're trying to pick out people to do certain things. They have no right to say because you're pregnant you won't be able to do those things, except those things are unsafe for you. And then they have no right to dismiss you. And this dismissal actually extended to as far as 18 months after your pregnancy. So from when you inform your employer that you're pregnant up until 18 months after, this actually protects you. So that's really beautiful. So some of the things I wanted to speak on, in addition to the rights, the four rights I've already outlined, is the fact that you need to do something called a risk assessment. So risk assessment is something that your employer is legally obligated to perform. It's supposed to help protect you. It's like a health and safety check to ensure that the environment you're working within, the tasks you're performing, are not in any way posing risk to your health or to the health of your baby. So this assessment is usually performed once every trimester. So I found that because I got to know about these rights late, I had a second trimester risk assessment and a third trimester risk assessment, and it was really helpful because I think I was a bit apprehensive informing them about my pregnancy because I felt like because I had severe nausea and vomiting, I wasn't able to do the things I usually would be able to do, and I thought that would count against me. So I wanted to, as much as possible, cover up. But once I found out about this, I actually felt more ease actually explaining to them what these difficulties I have are and how it's going to impact on my ability to provide services to patients. And it was really helpful because during the risk assessment, they tried to check, okay, do you have anything that actually prevents you from working long hours, standing for long, exposure to biological agents, the chair you're using, is it comfortable? There's so many things like screen time. There's so many things that are going to assess you upon and just basically make sure that these things are not posing any danger to you or to your baby. So during that period, I had my risk assessment and they were able to evaluate me, and they saw that because of how bad my nausea and vomiting was, I wasn't able to really stand for long. I wasn't able to care for patients in very enclosed spaces. I wasn't able to work for long hours. So because of that, they reduced my work time. I was only working 9 to 5 shifts, which was really, really helpful for me. By the time it was around 4 o'clock, I was already fragged out. So imagine working long hours. So it took me off of the long hour rota, but still preserved my pay. So that brings me to the second thing. The second thing is the right to pay protection. So regardless of the fact that you're no longer working the number of hours that you would usually work, you're actually supposed to still earn your full pay. So that's part of the protection that you get as a pregnant woman. And that's really helpful because you're actually trying to build up your finances towards when you go on maternity leave. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that you have the right to free medications as well as free dental health care. So I actually want to talk about this because I didn't know this until about, I think, about 26 weeks. And imagine struggling with nausea and vomiting for the bulk of the pregnancy. In fact, I had it up until I delivered, and even a couple of hours after I delivered, I was still vomiting. So imagine struggling with that and not being able to get your medications for free. So I spent a lot of money buying different anti-sickness medications that I would try and it wouldn't work. And then I'll have to go get another type and try and it wouldn't work. So it just was a lot of money. I think I spent over £100 and it just went down the drain because no one actually gave me the exemption certificate that I should have had. And because of that, I was paying for my medication. So it's very important if you have medications that you are having to buy, particularly because you're pregnant, inform your midwife that you don't have an exemption certificate, and it shouldn't be a big deal. Like, it literally took her 5 minutes to get this exemption certificate for me, and she totally forgot that she hadn't given me the exemption certificate. And even when I went back and tried to reclaim certain things, I wasn't able to claim all the way back to the very beginning. So it's very important that as soon as you're in touch with your midwife, you have some medications to get from them, let them know that you would like to get an exemption certificate so you can get this from a pharmacy near you, or your GP as well should be able to provide this exemption certificate. So I hope, apart from the coos for my baby, you actually got like an idea of what your rights are, and it just equips you to be more confident in asking for these things, maybe with your midwife or even with your employer as well. All right, then, do take care. Bye.